He got problems, she got problems, only I got 411 problems. Say hi, what's up, y'all? It's time for another story time. I'm looking at the timing on my phone because I'm like, what? What? Because it's like, it don't have no space. Why? Why? Anyway, so let's get into it. And welcome to your, like your mom. I don't really talk about my dad because there's nothing really to say. I know who my dad is, but there's really nothing to say because I don't really know anything about him. I really don't even know that side of my family, to be totally honest. I know like a select few. I had 2 uncles that that made sure like I knew who they were. Uncle George has passed away. Uncle Arthur is still around, and one Aunt Ella, who made sure like she knew who I was. Like she would come to my mom's house, and whenever she was in town, to make sure like I knew her face, I knew who she was. She put forth an effort. What people fail to understand, like if they put forth effort, baby, they want to. You know what I'm saying? You was putting forth no effort. You were putting forth no effort. Number 1, you were abusive. Number 2, you were a schizophrenic. And then number 3, you were a drug abusing schizophrenic. So after you left me on my aunt's porch for 8 hours, my mom she no longer trusts you. Which I couldn't blame her. And even when she tries to get you help after you got out of the military, I think you were maybe you were dishonorably discharged. It might have been honorably discharged. Unsure. I know you were in the military and you were in Korea because you went over there and you fought. You was in Korea for a while. Probably got siblings over there, child, to be honest. Yeah. So, because you named my mom was pregnant. Like I was the baby that was supposed to save the marriage, and that didn't happen. And supposed to stop you from beating on my mom, and that didn't happen. But you named me Angel. You were actually in Korea, and you was like, you had this dream that I was beautiful like an angel. So that's how I got the name Angel. Imagine naming a child and then don't want nothing to do with the child. Ain't this good? Anyway. So anyway, around my hometown, before here recently, but it's been like I think like 2 or 3 years, they've had you committed somewhere somehow. I really don't know where you are, to be totally honest. But around my hometown, like you're known for like walking the street. And before you got really, really sick, before it was really, really bad, you used to walk around with your military bag. Like it could be like the kids are walking around, even looking at my son, who's walking around like in hoodies and all these hot clothes in 80-degree weather. My dad was walking around in full army fatigue with his army bag full of clothes, walking around town. Hold on, y'all. So yeah, so you were known for walking around town with all your military gear and stuff on, and demanding, asking people for change, making people uncomfortable type situation. Well, lo and behold, this particular day, my mom was working 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., which was her shift. They would swing shifts, but they were 12-hour shifts, but yeah. So she was working 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And so you were walking from the inner city to the country to where we was, because you live with your mom, and you and your mom lived in the inner city. So you was walking, and as you was walking, like people noticed like you were on your way walking. Usually you would stop like on the outskirts of the country, but this particular time people noticed like you kept walking. So as you got closer to our street, they called my mom to let my mom know like, hey, my dad was on the way walking towards the house. So my mom called me, and so she was like, hey, lock up all the doors, lock everything, and don't let him in the house. Because you were determined, like that was your big thing, like, oh, I'm gonna come back home and we're gonna work things out, and that was not the case. Like, you wanted to move back in to be controlling, you were abusive. It was just not gonna happen. I don't know why you never moved forward. Like I told y'all in a previous story, like, he would call repeatedly, over and over, sometimes real late at night, and just let the phone ring and 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 ring, and to the point where we would have to take it off the hook. So if there really was an emergency, we wouldn't know until the next morning when we were able to put it back on the hook, because you constantly would call and bother my mom. Like, me watching my mom go through abuse is crazy to me. Crazy to me. So anyway, so she had come in, she was like, lock all the doors, don't let him get it. No, make sure you don't let him come in, because of course, if you come in, like, it's going to be hard to get you out. Like, you want to stay. So my mom, she was like, just make sure, like, like, don't open the doors. So he is walking, like, I can see him up the street. Like, I'm looking out of her room. I'm going back and forth from her room, and then, which was me and my sister's room, which is now the guest room. Like, I'm going back and forth from that window to my mom's window to see him walking, because that part of the house faced towards the street. So I'm looking, watching, and I see him walk up. And I was like, maybe he gonna walk past the house. You have that thought. Like, it's like, you're not really walking here, but you're walking here. You had time for whatever reason. So you come and turn into the driveway, and then you come and you ring the doorbell. So, of course, I didn't open the door, but I go to the door, and I was like, what is it? And so he was like, let me in. Your mom said to let me in the house. And I was like, no, she didn't. And he was like, well, I want to see you. Let's talk. I was like, oh, okay, stay right there. So I go upstairs, up from the door, go upstairs, open the window. And I was like, what's up? And so he was like, no, come outside. And he was like, open the door so I can come in so we can talk. And I was like, you can talk now. And so he was like, I just don't understand why you don't want to see your parents together. And by this time, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have been like 13, 14. Because Nightmare didn't live here at the time. He was already gone. So I might have been 14, 15. Because I was being SA until I was 14. Like, the beginning of 14. Yes. Because my birthday is in December. So, and he got kicked out. Final straw was more like March, April. Because he was gone by June, like summer. Yeah. Of my 14. So, I'm like 14, 15. But anyway, so he was like, I don't understand why you don't want to see your family together. Why you don't want to see me and your mom together. I'm not understanding. Just let me in so when your mom get off work, like, we can talk. I was like, which way did you walk here? And so he was like, I walked, the main street close to the inner country. And I was like, so you passed her job. Why didn't you stop and talk to her there? And he got quiet. And so he kind of looked at me, because it's like, baby, like, I'm not that little girl. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not that little girl. I'm not the little girl who wanted you all the time. Like, you missed that opportunity, sir. So, what are you here for? I was like, what are you here for? And so he was like, what do you mean? I was like, what are you here for? Y'all, after I said that, I don't know which slip, because he stood there. You know how Jason is standing, he look at his what do you call it? Victims. He looked at his, like, he's just standing and look at his victims. Like, once you realize, like, he's standing there, like, he's just standing there and looking at you. So he just stood there. And so I was like, and then he walked up and kicked the door. Now, sir. Really? I said, so now you kicking the door. I said, now what makes you think that that's going to get you in the house? Like, if I already told you, no, you're going to walk up and kick the door, and you think that's going to get you in the house? Like, what part of that makes sense to you? Mind y'all, remember, he's an abuser. He's a drug abuser. So I was like, what part of that makes sense to you? So I said, so them drugs cook in your brain, huh? And so you kind of cocked your head. And so he went and sat on the steps. Because my mom had, like, our porch was concrete. And then before she redid it, it was still concrete at the bottom. But she kind of added some more width to it. But in the beginning, like, it was just concrete. And then it was, like, concrete steps. So he went and sat on the second concrete step. And so, like, I'm just sitting there. And so I was like, why are you here? Like, what's the purpose? Like, you're not coming in here. So he was like, I'm going to just wait for your mom to get off work. No, you're not. You're not going to wait for her to get off work. Why don't you just leave? I was like, won't you leave, bro, before you get in trouble? And I was like, because I'm pretty sure people have already called to let her know, like, you are on the way. So I noticed, like, my family kept driving by. Like, my cousins and them, they kept driving by. They kept driving back and forth. So I was like, I see my family driving back and forth. They gonna call and let her know, like, you sitting on the step. She gonna call the police, like, she gonna call her people. Leave, just go ahead and leave. So he was like, I'm getting here and I'm trying to understand how my only daughter doesn't talk to me. And I was like, I'm not your only daughter. And he was like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're my only daughter. Mind you, you adopted my sister. Me and my sister do not have the same father, but you adopted her, so we had the same last name. You adopted her saying that you would be her father. You're her father. So he was like, no, you're my only daughter. And I was like, no. I was like, there's my sister, then there's me. No, biologically, you're my only daughter. I said, did you not adopt her? Does she not have your last name? I said, so now she's not your daughter? What sense does that make? Make that make sense to me. What sense does that make? I said, so you're sitting here trying to come into a house, you kick the door, and now you're not claiming my sister. You're just claiming me? What sense does that make? I don't understand why you're not getting the fact that I'm trying to be a family. I said, I don't understand why you feel like kicking the door and then talking like my sister don't exist is going to make me want to open the door to be a family. What's not registering right now? What are you not getting? I said, and you're not even supposed to be here. I'm telling you, I've seen my family go back and forth. I'm pretty sure they already called mama. So the phone rang and it's my grandaunt. My grandaunt was like, you okay? I said, yes, ma'am. She was like, don't open the door. I said, I'm not opening the door. I'm not opening the door. As I stated, my family didn't trust him, number one, after you left me on the porch. I was 4 when you left me on the porch by myself for 8 hours. So they don't trust you. You're a drug abuser and you're a schizophrenic. You don't take your medication. You use drugs. You booger sugar really heavy. So they don't trust you. So it's like, just leave. Like, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. Like, just leave. You're in and out of jail for always trespassing or for talking crazy to people. Just leave. Like, just go. And so he was like, I don't understand why you don't trust me. I said, okay, so let's make it clear. I said, do you remember when you called? Y'all, this man used to call me. His mom, she had just started declining. She was older. She just started declining. She just started, losing her memory. So this one particular day he called and I answered the phone. Hello. And so he was like, I don't understand why she can't remember to flush the toilet. This is nasty. He's talking about his mom. This is nasty. She's nasty. And I was like, what? Who are you talking about? And so he was like, my mom. And so she's in the back. And so she was like, out. Because she called him by the family nickname. So she was like, idiot. Because that's not the family nickname, but idiot. Idiot. She was like, I'll flush it. She's older. And she's starting to lose her memory. Y'all, all I hear is, right now. And I hear her say, oh. And I was like, did you just hit her? Well, yeah, I just slapped her. I just slapped it out of her. Because why would you? That's disgusting. And you hang up the phone. So I run upstairs, and this is not the same incident, but you've called. And I run upstairs, and I was like, Ma, this just happened. He just hit her. What do I do? What do I do? So Mom was like, there's nothing you can do. And I was like, what do you mean? So there's nothing you can do. She was like, you can call your uncle and, let them know. She was like, but there's nothing you can do. So yeah, so I was like, okay. So she said, I had called the number that was listed. Excuse me, I called the number that was listed in the phone book for my uncle and left a message, but I don't know what happened after that. But anyway, so I was like, I remember that. Like, I was like, what makes you think like you're to be trusted? Like, you hit your mom, you left me by myself, you just kicked the door, you don't claim my sister. I was like, you're racking up. You're racking up. So the phone rings and it's my mama. Hello. She was like, is he still there? Yes, ma'am. She was like, don't open the door. I was like, I'm not opening the door. She was like, but I'm going to go ahead and call the police and have them remove him. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, well, I'll let him know that they on their way. And I was like, because maybe, like, if I tell him, like, hey, they're on their way, maybe you will leave. So she was like, all right. She was like, but I'm going to let you know, like, I'm calling her. I was like, okay. So hung up with her, went back to the window, and I was like, hey, mom said she's calling the police, so you need to, go ahead and go. He was like, she just said she calling the police? I was like, yeah, she just got a phone. She said she's going to call the police, so you need to go. He was like, and you didn't tell her not to? I said, why would I tell her that? This is her house. You need to leave. He was like, first of all, this is my house. Lie. You didn't put no money into that house at all. At all. So lie. And he was like, this is my house. I said, that's not true. And he was like, and I'm your father, unfortunately. So he was like, what? You're like your mom. You're acting like your mom. I said, so now really? I said, really? You really think now I'm gonna open the door and you done call me a bitch? Seriously? You acting like your mom. If I came in there, things would be different. I said, sir, you're not coming in here. I already told you the police are coming, so it would be wise for you to get your little bag and go. You waited. You sat there and waited. You sat there and waited. You sat there and waited for the purple. So the police showed up, like they did like a little circle in front of the church, like, because the church had like a lot of land, so they a little, where the cars park on Sunday, but they circled and then parked like outside of the driveway. So the police walked up, and so police was like, how you doing? And so, because again, you're not normal. What is it? Repeating. You're a repeating offender. Every time you turn around, you're the person disrupting. Like, you have a reputation around town. So the police was like, how you doing? He was like, oh, I'm great. How are you? And he was like, wonderful. It would be even better if you get up and leave this property. You're not supposed to be here. Leave the property. And so he was like, oh, I'm just talking to my daughter. So the police, of course, like, you didn't pay attention to me in the window. So you looking around. He was like, your daughter's not here. He's like, yes, she is. She's right there in the window. So he looked up and I did like this. And so he was like, ma'am, is there anybody else in the house with you? I said, no, my mom's at work. And so he was like, okay. He was like, are the doors locked? I said, yeah. So he was like, are the doors locked? My dad, are the doors locked? You think I'm going to hurt my daughter? You think I'll hurt my daughter? And he was like, well, clearly. He was like, nobody knows what you're going to do. He said, I would hope not. I would hope you wouldn't hurt your daughter. He said, but if somebody asks you to leave and you don't and the police have to be called, what are we to think? She's just being like her mom. She's just being like her mom. So the police was like, the officer was like, don't use that language about her or her mother. He was like, so again, this is the last time. He was like, either you're going to get up and leave or I'm going to put you in the back seat and you're going to go. So he got up, he got his bag and he started walking. So as he started walking, the cop was walking. He was walking like towards the driveway and the cop was walking like through the yard back to his car. So they was walking like the cop was kind of going slow to make sure like he was leaving, like for real leaving. So as he got to the head of the driveway, close to the cop's car, he turned to the car. He was like, are you going to give me a ride back to town? The cop said, no, the same way that you got here is the same way you leave. Walk. So he started walking away. So the cop sat there for a little while, and he was on, like, I can notice, like, he was on the phone. I don't know who he was talking to or whatever, but then he pulled off. So maybe like 10 minutes later, my mom called, and so she was like, is he gone? I was like, yeah, the cop showed up. And the cops made him leave, so he left. And I was like, he hasn't, come back or anything. So she was like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm cool. And so she was like, okay. She was like, I was just calling to make sure. She was like, if he come back, let me know. She was like, so with him showing up, I was like, yeah, I know I can't go outside. So after my mom hung up, I think maybe like 10, 20 minutes later, my grandaunt called. My grandaunt was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. So she was like, you need anything? You need somebody to go to the store or whatever? And I was like, no, we got food and stuff in here. So she was like, oh, okay, because that was routine. If he showed up, I couldn't go outside. Because they didn't know. It's not funny, but they didn't know what he would do because you were unstable. So it was like, once you left me, it was like, you're not trusted. They didn't trust you around me. Which is what I try to explain to like that side of the family. Because my mom used to say, like, if they had family reunions, she used to tell, like, other people, she'd be like, hey, if you let me know, like, the family reunions and stuff, I'll bring her. But he can't come and get her. Which I understood. Like, there was no animosity towards my mom after that. Because, like, I don't know if I told that. Because I was like, he would show up, like, to badger my mom. He would show up at my school and tell the school like he was signing me out or he was taking me out of school to make it look like you was still, like, you would call my mom and say, hey, I'm going to get Angel and we're leaving, like we're moving. So you would call my mom and make her scared and make her think like you were kidnapping me, stealing me, and then show up at the school. But you wouldn't take me out of school, but you would show up at the school because, like, the school would call and be like, hey, he's here. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, you would do a lot of manipulative, nasty BS to hurt my mom because my mom didn't want to be with you anymore. She didn't want to deal with the foolishness no more. Like, she moved on. She grew. She healed. She stand up. She stood up on her stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it was a lot. Like, he's toxic. He's toxic. Toxic. Like, the only time, like, my dad wanted to text me, because I know y'all was like, girl, because it's a story time of me trying to unalive him. And Nia was the passenger. That's why I was like, I had to apologize to Nia because it traumatized me. It really did traumatize her. And I had to apologize to her because I was literally trying to take him out. Because it was like, I watched you beat my mother. I watched that. I watched you traumatize her. I watched you put fear, like, into her. I watched her cry because you constantly badger her. I watched, like, y'all. So, like, when that side of the family, like, when they're walking up to me when I go home and they be like, hey, cousin, I be like, hey. And I'm not trying to be funny. It's just I don't know them. And that's because of that. It's because, like, you badger her so much. Yeah. That was another story. I think that was it. No. So, like, that's what I was about to say. You didn't want to really have anything to do with me until you saw me in the paper for track. Yeah, because they did like at our sports banquets, when they gave out trophies, like, of course the newspaper would come and take pictures and then we would be in the newspaper. So I won a trophy for track. And so you had called me and was like, hey, come see me. And at this time, like, I had just turned like 16 because I was driving my mom's car. So, and I went to go see Nia because you kept calling. My mom was like, just go. Because at this point in time, like, I'm old enough to, like, fend for myself, right? So she was like, just go because he's not going to stop calling until you show up. So, because I had, my aunt actually had cut out the newspaper because she was like, look at Angel in the paper. And so I was like, oh, can I have that? And so she was like, no, get your own. And I was like, oh, okay. So, I don't know. She still, I think those burn in the house fire too. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so it was more like it was like, I know, like, you didn't want nothing to do with me. Like, you don't call, you don't say nothing. The only time you mention me is when you feel the spur to harass my mom. If the calling constantly didn't work, it's like, okay, I'll use Angel to get at her, so to speak. So you called after, like, the sports stuff had went out in the paper. You called and he was like, hey, come see your daddy. And I was like, for what? So, and I took, did I take Nia with me? I think Nia was with me. I think Nia was with me because it was like I was talking to Nia about it, and I think like her mom overheard. Her mom was like, "Girl, go around there so he can finally shut up." So he can finally shut up. And so it was more like, so when I went around there, I really think Nia was with me. Maybe she wasn't. I don't know. But anyway, like I pulled up, and when I pulled up, because I was in my mom's car, because my mom had a Stanza, and I was in my mom's car, and when I pulled up, and he was like, "You know how to drive?" Yeah. He was like, "Well, who taught you how to drive? Your mom? Who else?" Like, it's like, like, and I was like, "What is it?" And so he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw that you was in the paper," and I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Did they give y'all a check or something for that?" No. Oh, because if it was, I was gonna say, you need to share with your daddy. You constantly harassed and called repeatedly for me to come see you because you thought I had a check for high school sports. I was like, is that it? Yeah, but just come see your daddy sometime. All right. And I pulled off. Yeah. So for the people who watch me from my hometown who don't know, like when people used to be like, girl, like they used to, as I said, like people used to run jokes. We call it joning. When they used to joan on, we used to joan on each other. They used to be like, and yo, daddy, and I'd be like, baby, that don't hurt me at all. I can help you with the joning. That don't hurt me at all. You talk about my mama, we got a problem. Him, I could care less. But yeah, so I don't, it's not that me not interacting with that side of the family, it's just that I don't know y'all. I don't know y'all. Sorry. I don't know y'all. I don't know y'all. But anyway, so that is the story time of Europe like your mom. I love you the most because you're definitely the dopest in real life, and I'll see y'all in the next one.